The golden Tuesday afternoon sun hovered low over Brookhaven Fields, draping long shadows across my modest 5-acre property as I rolled up the driveway. My heart sank the moment I spotted them. 3 bikers, leather-clad and looming, stood menacingly over my teenage daughter, Grace Walker. She was backed up against the chicken coop she had built by hand, her project notebook clenched tightly in her trembling hands, her face pale and eyes wide with terror. Their Harleys blocked the path to our house, chrome glinting in the waning sunlight like a threat. I had spent 22 years as an Army Ranger, faced death across 6 brutal combat tours, and believed I had finally found a slice of peace here. But Brookhaven Fields HOA, commandeered by the iron-fisted Danielle Mercer, had evolved from petty fines into open intimidation. Those men had no idea who they were confronting or how swiftly the next 3 minutes would change their lives. How far would a father go to protect his child from thugs trespassing on his land? For me, there was no limit on what unfolded would tear apart a corrupt regime that had grown fat and arrogant under the weight of its own deceit. Brookhaven Fields had been my refuge since I retired from service. Lot 77, a quiet stretch at the end of Willow Bend Lane, far enough from the chaos of the world to finally breathe. My name is Samuel Walker, former colonel of the 75th Ranger Regiment. Now simply Sam the Quiet Man, with a woodworking shop and a daughter who had grown up faster than I was ready to admit. During my last deployment, I bought this land for Grace, a place where she could work on her agricultural projects, laying the foundation for scholarships to veterinary school. A barn where I could replace battle plans with dovetail joints, crafting furniture with the same discipline once reserved for tactical maps. At first, the HOA seemed benign quick meetings, reasonable fees, simple rules ensuring trimmed lawns and unobtrusive neighbors. Perfect for a man worn thin by war. But everything changed when Danielle Mercer seized control 2 years ago. She was a city transplant, corporate sleek with tailored suits and a tongue sharp enough to slice steel. She vowed to modernize the community and maximize property values. In mere months, Brookhaven Fields became her personal fiefdom. Regulations grew increasingly absurd, enforcement brutal. Fines issued for a mailbox tilted an inch too far or grass a quarter-inch too high. I kept my head down, relocated the mailbox, scalped the grass all to avoid conflict. But things turned when I dared question her so-called $500,000 improvement fund at a quarterly meeting. 8 months of rising dues, yet no visible upgrades. Where was the money going? I pressed for financial transparency. The room went dead silent. Danielle's smile faltered, her eyes flashing with something far more dangerous than anger. Financials are not open for discussion, she snapped. Her board members shifted in their chairs, cowed into silence. I had seen this tactic before dominate the room, snuff dissent before it spreads. The retaliation was swift and brutal. Grace's 4-H chicken project, her pride, her scholarship ticket was suddenly deemed unauthorized livestock. Never mind that we had agricultural zoning and written county approvals. A certified letter arrived demanding the immediate removal of all livestock within 48 hours or face daily fines of $100. Grace was crushed. She had spent months breeding heritage chickens, studying sustainability, carefully constructing the coop by regulations stricter than any HOA handbook. I contested the violation, submitted proof of compliance, and requested a formal hearing. Danielle dug in harder, claiming the coop's design violated vague, aesthetic standards. Then the citations started piling up. Excessive vehicles when Grace's 4-H friends visited, unsightly materials for lumber stacked behind the barn. Every repair we made invited a new infraction. It was psychological warfare. Leave. Or be crushed. Why do they hate us, Dad? Grace had asked me one evening, tears brimming in her eyes. They don't hate us, honey, I said, holding her close. They hate losing control. That Tuesday had started like any other. Grace had texted to say she'd be home early to work on the coop. I'd stopped by Franklin's Hardware for lumber. Edna Franklin, the owner, rung on my order. Grace's chickens still stirring up trouble with the HOA? she asked, handing me my receipt. Nothing we can't weather, I replied, hoisting the boards into the truck bed. The air was fresh, heavy with spring promise, as I turned down Willow Bend Lane toward home. Then I saw them bikers, their Harleys growling like beasts as they boxed Grace against the coupe. The largest of the trio sneered at her, menacing. The chickens go, sweetheart, when the HOA says so, he barked, voice oily with malice. Grace, dressed in a sunny yellow shirt, shrank against the boards, visibly trembling. I caught sight of a black Cadillac Escalade parked discreetly at the end of the street. Through the windshield, I recognized Danielle Mercer, filming with her phone, a predator cataloging her hired wolves. I rolled my truck to a silent stop, clicked the surveillance cameras I'd hidden around the property. They hummed to life, recording every damning second. The bikers' jackets bore the insignia of the Red Talon Redursa Club I knew well from my brief consulting stint with the FBI's Organized Crime Task Force. Not a true MC gang, but dirty enough to serve for hire. I assessed the threat quickly. The leader's 6'2", about 240 pounds, right-handed, steel-toed boots. The second man a stocky, tattooed figure with a military bearing. The third a wiry kid, twitchy, hand hovering near his waistband. Armed, most likely. I climbed out of my truck, voice level but commanding, back away from my daughter. Grace stiffened but saw me and relaxed just a little. The leader smirked, flashing a gold canine. Samuel Walker, Lot 77. HOA says you're out of compliance. Chicken's gotta go. We're just helping you realize your civic responsibilities. You're threatening a child, I said, voice low and lethal. He stepped closer to Grace. She flinched. Rules are rules, he said, gripping her wrist roughly. She stays put. Bad move. Fatal move. You have 5 seconds to let her go, I said, tone even. He squeezed harder. 4, I counted. He hesitated. 3. Grace wrenched free, bolting toward me. 2. They turned toward me, confused, uncertain. 1. I lifted my phone. Sierra Tango 5. Ironclad protocol. Engage. A calm voice answered. Colonel Walker, units inbound. 3 minutes. The biker's bravado evaporated. Doyle the leader paled. His second muttered Walker? As in the Walker. We're screwed, the young one whimpered. Black Suburbans stormed down the lane, tires shrieking, sealing off every exit. Tactical teams fanned out, weapons drawn but disciplined. Doyle dropped to his knees. We didn't know. Mercer just said to scare you. The youngest one sobbed. I'm on parole. Please. I remained still. You put hands on my daughter. You're done. Colonel Mike Reynolds, an old Ranger brother, nodded grimly as his men swarmed the bikers. Danielle Mercer tried to flee in her Escalade, but was boxed in by another Suburban. Sheriff Clint Barlow, another veteran ally, strolled over, shaking his head. Welcome back to the front lines, Sam, he said dryly. Grace clutched my side, unhurt but shaken. I rested a hand on her head, steady. Mike's tablet buzzed text message logs, subpoenaed and traced. Danielle had texted Doyle. Use the girl. Scare him into selling. Conspiracy. Intimidation. Racketeering. And it wasn't just us. Doyle confessed 3 other families had been targeted. The Petersons. The Changs. The O'Briens. Prime lots sold for pennies on the dollar to a firm tied to Danielle's brother's shady realty group. Security footage from our mailbox tracker showed Danielle planting a tampered notice herself. Word spread fast. Within 48 hours, nearly 200 neighbors packed into my barn. Angry, betrayed, devastated. Martha Peterson sobbed, recounting how bikers had terrorized her grandkids. Carlos Chong described racial harassment. Elaine O'Brien spoke of hidden HOA consulting fees vanishing into thin air. Gray stood up before the crowd, voice clear and strong. They tried to isolate us, but we're not alone. We are a community, and we are not for sale. The barn erupted into a standing ovation. The local news latched onto the story. Then the state attorney general, Danielle Mercer, her brother, and 2 HOA board members were indicted on 27 charges: fraud, extortion, conspiracy, harassment. Each received prison sentences ranging from 6 to 10 years. Grace's chickens, once the battleground, became symbols of resilience. She won a $10,000 scholarship. The coop evolved into a community garden and learning center. Doyle, seeking redemption, repaired homes for the elderly as part of his probation. Brookhaven Fields was reborn. The Walker Act passed by popular demand, capping HOA fines, mandating financial transparency, and establishing an independent watchdog committee. Grace, once aspiring to veterinary school, now dreams of law school, off protecting others the way we fought to protect ourselves. "You fought with truth, Dad," she told me one evening as we watched the sun set behind the barn. "Today, we host community cookouts, teach kids to garden, and raise livestock." Strangers became friends. Fear was replaced by family. And somewhere, Danielle's forgotten tracker still pings aimlessly. Our chickens feed the hungry. And the Walkers, once targets, became the unbreakable heart of Brookhaven Fields.